It was a normal Friday evening, or at least, it was supposed to be. My name's Josh, and I'm a 29-year-old delivery driver in a small town. Elmwood Road, the street I lived on, was quiet. Too quiet, honestly. The houses were old. Spaced out just enough to make you feel like you weren't completely isolated, but close enough that you'd notice if something was off. One night, I got a call for a late-night delivery. It was a house at the end of Elmwood Road, a place I'd never seen anyone come or go from. The house was old, decaying. Honestly, with overgrown vines crawling up the sides and dark windows that always seemed to look back at you when you passed by. But the pay was good, so I shrugged it off and took the job. As I drove down the road, something felt different. It was like the air had changed, thicker and colder. I chalked it up to the chill of the night and kept driving, but when I pulled up to the house, the unease hit me like a brick. The porch light was on, but the yard was still. No dogs barking, no movement, just silence. I rang the doorbell, my finger pressing against the cool button, but no answer. I tried again, louder this time, but still nothing. That's when I noticed the door was slightly ajar. Not enough to be fully open, but enough for me to see the dim glow of a lamp inside. The feeling of something being off gnawed at me. I called out, "Hello, delivery for 121 Elmwood Road." No response. I was about to leave when I heard a soft shuffle from inside the house, followed by a voice, faint but clear. "Come in, I'm waiting." That voice made my blood run cold. It wasn't a casual invitation, it was rehearsed. I hesitated but then thought about the tip. Maybe this person was just old or hard of hearing. So, I stepped in. The house smelled musty. It looked like no one had lived there in years. Dust covered everything. The air was so still, it almost felt like the house was holding its breath. I walked down the dark hallway, my footsteps echoing off the walls. Then, I saw her. An old woman, sitting in a rocking chair, her face hidden in the shadows. She didn't move, just rocked back and forth, slowly. I cleared my throat, trying to ease the tension. "I've got your delivery, Mom." She didn't respond. I felt like I should leave. The air in the room felt thicker now, almost suffocating. But before I could turn to go, the woman spoke. Her voice was raspy, barely a whisper. "Don't leave. It's not safe." I froze. "What?" I asked, my voice coming out quieter than I intended. Her rocking stopped. She slowly turned her head toward me, her face just barely visible in the dim light. Her eyes, they weren't normal. They were too wide, almost unnaturally so, and there was a coldness in them that sent a jolt of fear through my body. "You need to leave. It's already too late," she muttered. Then, she turned her head back to the wall, resuming her rocking, ignoring me completely. Something inside me screamed to get out. So, I turned around and headed for the door, heart pounding in my chest. That's when I heard it. A whisper from somewhere in the house. "He's coming." The door slammed shut before I could reach it, and the entire house seemed to shift. The shadows twisted around me, and a figure appeared at the end of the hall. A man, tall, pale. He wasn't dressed in normal clothes, but something old. His eyes were just as wide as the woman's, and there was a faint, sick smile on his face. I bolted for the door, but it wouldn't open. The doorknob felt frozen, like I was trying to twist it through ice. "Help!" I shouted, banging on the door. But no one came. I could hear them now. More whispers, more footsteps, coming from all around me, growing louder, closer. And then, just as I thought I couldn't take it anymore, the door finally flew open. I rushed outside, gasping for air, but when I looked back, the house had changed. It wasn't the decaying, old place anymore. It looked new, pristine even, like nothing had ever been wrong with it. And standing on the porch, looking at me, was the old woman. But this time, she was smiling. "You're the one who wasn't supposed to leave," she whispered. I didn't waste another second. I jumped in my car and sped away, and when I turned around to look back, the house was gone. Just gone. I never went back to Elmwood Road. No one ever talks about that house anymore. But I know what I saw, what I heard. I can't explain it, but sometimes, late at night, I swear I still hear the whispers, calling me back to that house, warning me about the thing that waits there. And every time I hear it, I remember that man, his sick smile, and the woman who knew I shouldn't have left. Story 2D. It was the middle of a chilly autumn evening when I had to drive home from work. The roads were mostly empty, and the fog had started to creep in, thickening the air with a heavy sense of unease. I always took the same route, crossing the old, creaky bridge that had been there for decades. But tonight, something felt different. As I drove closer to the bridge, I saw a figure standing in the middle of it. He was tall, cloaked in a dark coat, his face obscured by the hood. I slowed down, not sure whether to stop or keep going. Something about him felt off. I honked the horn lightly, but he didn't move. In fact, he seemed to be staring straight at me, though I couldn't see his eyes. Just as I was about to roll down my window and ask if he needed help, the engine sputtered and died. The car came to a complete stop right on the bridge. I tried to start it again, but it wouldn't budge. Panic set in. I locked the doors and looked around, but the figure was still there, standing in the same spot. Then, the figure began walking towards me, slowly, deliberately. I could hear his footsteps echoing in the thick fog. My heart raced. When he was just a few feet away, he lifted his head, and I saw his face. His skin was pale, almost lifeless, and his eyes were black, completely black. I screamed, trying the engine once more. This time, the car roared to life, and I slammed my foot on the gas. As I sped off, I looked in the rearview mirror and saw him standing at the edge of the bridge, watching me leave. I never crossed that bridge again, and to this day, I wonder if I was the only one who saw him, or if others had felt that same dread in the fog. Story 3. I moved into my new apartment about 6 months ago, a charming little place on the outskirts of the city. It was affordable, and the landlord seemed nice enough. But there was one thing that bothered me: the attic. I had never been up there, but the door to it was just at the end of the hallway, hidden behind a stack of old boxes. The door was locked, which seemed odd to me, considering how small the apartment was. But I didn't think much of it, that is, until the whispers started. At first, it was faint, just a soft murmur coming from the attic late at night. I brushed it off as the wind or maybe the neighbors. But then, the whispers grew louder. One night, I decided to investigate. I grabbed a flashlight and tried to open the door, but it was stuck. The whispers seemed to increase, almost like they were trying to beckon me. I found a key hidden beneath a loose floorboard in the living room. My heart raced as I unlocked the door and stepped into the attic. The air was thick with dust, and the beams creaked under my weight. I shone my flashlight around, and that's when I saw them: old photographs. Hundreds of them, all over the walls. But the faces in the pictures, they weren't human. They were distorted, like twisted masks, their eyes wide and unsettling. The whispers grew louder, and then I heard a voice, clear as day, coming from behind me. "Leave, now." I spun around, but there was no one there. I ran out of the attic, slamming the door behind me, but the whispers didn't stop. They followed me, louder now, echoing in my head even as I lay in bed, trying to sleep. The next morning, I moved out, and I left the key on the landlord's doorstep. I've never been back. But sometimes, when the wind is just right, I swear I can hear those whispers again, calling me back to the attic.